everybody. Welcome to another episode of All Things Bloom. I am your host, Sheniqua Mitchell, and I have some amazing guests with you today. First, I want to share our mission and vision with you. Bloom Beyond the Walls, our mission is to improve safety and wellness in Lehigh Valley through community education and prevention services, outreach, and advocacy that leads to restoration. We want to warn you today that some of the content discussed here might be sensitive and could be graphic. And we also want to say if you or someone you know is experiencing human trafficking, please call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or call our Bloom resource line at 484-268-8581. I'm so happy today because I have our CEO, our boss lady in the building today, Carol Andersen. And then we have another special guest who I want to allow him to introduce himself in a moment. But we are super excited to be moving and growing at Bloom. And who our guest is today, he is one of our amazing partners in this work with disrupting human trafficking in the Lehigh Valley. So I want to allow him to introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. Brent Morral. I'm Supervisory Special Agent with Homeland Security Investigations in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Supervise an office as 8 special agents and about 30 task force officers. We oversee 2 sex trafficking task forces here in Lehigh Valley, one in Lehigh County and one in Northampton County. Been up here for about 3-4 years, and ever since I've been here, been working very closely with Bloom as we combat sex trafficking here in the Lehigh Valley.
Absolutely. Boss lady, do you want to reintroduce yourself? I know I...
No need.
Okay, so we want to jump right into some questions. I just want to say, since I've been here my almost 2 years here at Bloom, I have had an amazing relationship working with the agents that work under Brent. And it's no wonder why they are amazing and they are the way they are. I firmly believe that what's on the head flows down to the body. And so who you are, how you are, it is displayed in your leadership and in the way that your agents handle survivors of sex trafficking.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So just so you can explain, how does HSI work with local nonprofits?
Yeah, so HSI has understood the proper way to combat sex trafficking is to be victim-centric. We're not out there wanting to villainize the survivors, don't want to arrest them for misdemeanors. So what we found is the best way is to treat them what they really are as survivors and to give them the support they need so they can then also be really good witnesses for us as we prosecute the monsters, the sex traffickers. We found that to do that appropriately, it can't just all be law enforcement driven, that we need to have NGO partners such as Bloom to be out there with us in the weeds when we're working these cases. So the first encounter that these individuals have is not with law enforcement, but with Bloom or a victim survivor organization that can get them to a comfortable spot, even if it's not the day of encounter, it may be several months later, but still gets them in the right spot. So eventually, that if they are willing to cooperate, that's the only way we can really put these individuals away. And that's what we want to do from law enforcement. We want to put these individuals, make them pay for their evil deeds, and put them in away as long as we can.
Yeah, I love that. When did that kind of change, or how were you able to do that with your team? Because in times past, we know that if a sex trafficking sting was broken up, everyone was going to jail. It wasn't a question, and then things got sorted out after. So how did you manage to advocate for that sort of change where you became victim-centric and then partnering with NGOs such as us to come in?
Yeah, I think it started happening at a national level with HSI, where they took a step back about 10-15 years ago and started to see, like, listen, this is not working. This is not the right thing to do. We realize that this is not a narcotics investigation where if we seize cocaine, it just sits in our evidence vault for the next 2 years pending trial. That these cases here are dependent on these individuals who have been awful acts done on them over the years, very vulnerable individuals. If we're going to go villainize them at the beginning, that's not going to set up for a great case for us to prosecute. But more importantly is it's not the right thing to do. These individuals are victims of some horrific crimes. We need to treat them as to what they are and give them the support they need to get to a better spot. So it's twofold. It is we're doing the right thing for the victims, which is most important, but it's also going to set us up for success to hold these people accountable. So I'd like to think that national level HSI saw that about 10 years ago, and it's really started to turn this on its head. We've got buy-in from district attorneys throughout the area here as well, who also understood that, listen, this is not about putting a big media press release out there and to say that 30 people were arrested for misdemeanors. Absolutely not. We're not about putting press releases out there. We're about holding the worst of the worst accountable and getting the victims the support they need.
Absolutely. Carol, do you want to ask a question?
Well, I just think I can speak to this really amazing collaborative, positive work that we've seen as the task force has developed over the past couple of years since your office was established here in the Lehigh Valley. And before that, I think what's interesting for everyone to know is that there wasn't an HSI regular presence in the Lehigh Valley until a couple of years ago. And even without federal government financial support, this task force has been established here in the Lehigh Valley and working with, I think there's probably 30 to 50 at that monthly task force meeting that we've seen. So I think that's been something that has developed. Even as a nonprofit, we've seen this collaborative work just grow and enhance over the past 3 years since it's been established. So that's been really an amazing thing to be a part of that. I always say when I first got into this work about a decade ago, I really only worked on the restorative side, but now have been able for the past 3 years to see some of that justice initiative move forward. And it really has been amazing. We're grateful for your partnership. And I think one question that I want to ask you, maybe just to get a little bit more information about, is how has technology and kind of the things have changed. I mean, you've said 10 to 15 years ago, the federal government took this shift of looking at victims as they are, both men and women, and certainly absolutely children. But what have you seen the move in technology, and how has that impacted this work from the in-person operations that may have happened to now? Where are you moving as a task force and as an agency for that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's definitely turned it on its head. Technology now, as we all know, sex trafficking can be in anyone's house now easily. Anyone who has a cell phone or has a kid who has a cell phone, that's where most of sex trafficking occurs now. It's online through social media apps. At HSI, we see it every day, unfortunately. And I've mentioned this before, but it's really beneficial for individuals to understand what sex trafficking is. It's any minor who is taking part in sexual activity, even if they're not being coerced or forced into it. If they're under the age of 18 and something of value is being given to them for a sexual video, a picture, that's sex trafficking.
Okay. So they don't even have to be in the presence of
there does
the
not
perpetrator.
Does not be any physical contact.
Got it.
We charge sex trafficking all the time when it's a young child on Roblox.
Okay.
And I can't get this out enough to the community. It is, if your kid has a cell phone or online gaming, be very careful. We just arrested we just did another forensic interview recently on a child who was getting paid Robux, which is the currency of Roblox, to give nude photos of herself. She was 8 years old. To a pedophile who was in, I think, Mississippi.
Wow.
So that's we can charge sex trafficking with that. So I cannot stress enough is to be careful out there. I hate smartphones. I'll be honest. I wish we could reverse time and go back before we just had the rotary dial up and all that, because it has really exploded both child exploitation and sex trafficking violations, where the predators now have easy access to victims across the whole world. So sex trafficking is everywhere now. If you go back to the late 90s, early 90s, it was more on the street. There wasn't the internet. There wasn't that technology. Ever since the internet came around, and especially now smartphones, it can be in anyone's house. A sex trafficking victim or a sex trafficking crime can occur anywhere because of this technology.
And I think emphasizing your point that if they don't have a smartphone, it can be a gaming device or a gaming
device.
platform.
Correct,
So
100%. Xbox.
Both.
Any type of gaming system where they can communicate with someone, which all these kids have their headphones on, and they can all communicate. Parents have to be cognizant of that and make sure that there's strict rules in place if you are going to allow them to do it, and to really be monitoring kids, because obviously their brains are still developing. They're still learning how to handle their emotions. And we were all kids once too. We all do
Right.
stupid things.
Yeah.
Thankfully, when I was a kid, I didn't have a cell phone or a
Yeah.
smartphone. But it's just something that parents have to be really aware of, because we're now seeing sex trafficking victims that run the whole gamut from all different socioeconomic levels, all different ethnicities because of technology.
I appreciate you saying that. One of the things that when I'm out educating is I say that trafficking is an evil that doesn't know, and I think a lot of times we know that childhood adverse experiences, right, poverty, different things like that, make you predisposed and make you more vulnerable. But we have to understand that this thing knows no, there's no limits,
Right.
and there are no boundaries. So even if you're in a place of privilege,
Right.
it's something to be aware of, and,
Yep.
and to be careful of, because we know
Right.
that traffickers exploit vulnerability. So in your thought, what are some things we can share about vulnerabilities that are exploited by
Right.
traffickers?
Right. Yes, that's a great question, Sheniqua. So what we see a lot here in Lehigh Valley with sex trafficking is the coercion part of it, which is the drug dependency. The opioid epidemic, one of the largest areas, worst areas, I should say, for it, the two states are Pennsylvania and Ohio. So right up here through Lehigh Valley, the opioid epidemic is still here. There are still a lot of overdose deaths that are occurring throughout the Lehigh Valley, even though it may not be in the news as much as it used to be. But that opioid epidemic has also really, I guess, expanded the sex trafficking that occurs here, because a lot of the sex traffickers will hold heroin, fentanyl,
Yeah.
over their victims' heads because they don't want to get dope sick,
Right.
and they'll go out there and continue to work for their trafficker so they can basically be fed heroin.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of that here. We still see the other levels too of it though, which is the basically the force part of it. I mentioned this before. We had an awful case in Reading where we had sex traffickers who were basically holding women and girls captive and putting them in dog kennels and stabbing them, raping them at gunpoint, to force them into the sex trade. Some of the most subhuman individuals I've ever dealt with in my 23 years in this job. But like I said, that is still here too. It's definitely here. A lot of these traffickers, once they gain that trust of their victim, that's when some of this force comes in a lot more prevalent. Thankfully, with the U.S. Attorney's offices here and the local prosecutors, we can really hold these folks accountable. Those individuals in Reading who did these awful acts, several of them are now spending life in prison. The lowest level members of the group, it was a gang of 13 individuals, are all doing 20, 25 years in federal prison. So we are holding them accountable to hopefully never have this happen again. Same thing with all the victims. I think we had over 40 victims in that case, trying to give them the services, staying in touch with them to hopefully allow them to continue to recover from the awful acts that happened. But I would say here in Lehigh Valley, though, to summarize, the coercion, the drug dependency is really a prevalent one.
Well, what would you say is are some of the myths that are out there? Because a lot of the time when we're out, and Cal's been in this work a decade. I'm a survivor leader, and I've been in this work here 2 years. But no matter how much we educate, we still find that people do not believe
Yeah.
that sex
True.
trafficking is a thing.
Right.
And no one believes that it's happening here. And actually, according to statistics, Pennsylvania is number 11. We are 11 in the United States. So where we're sitting right now in this moment while life is happening, we are 11 as far as sex trafficking goes. So what are some of the myths, and how does law enforcement try to correct that? And how do we, as
Right.
as a partner, try to dispel or correct some of those myths?
Right. I think outreach is the main thing. And listen, movies like Taken probably don't help, because people think that sex trafficking means someone has to be kidnapped off the street and
Right.
taken over to Europe, or vice versa. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen,
Right.
but people see that, they're like, that's what sex trafficking is. And yes, that is sex trafficking, but that's not what it only is. So I think the outreach, where even just like now, where I can talk to individuals in the community, let them know that a young kid playing Roblox who is getting Robux to send images of themselves, that is sex trafficking.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to make sure people understand what sex trafficking is and what it isn't. But it is, sex trafficking is anything of value given to that individual who's a minor. That is sex trafficking. So I think outreach is really the big thing. Where HSI throughout the Lehigh Valley here is we're always trying to do outreach at the schools with iGuardian presentations about internet safety, about what sex trafficking is. We do outreach to the hospitals, to different victim services organizations, always getting the word out there so the community can understand what it is and what it isn't and how to report it. But that is the most crucial thing. It's really trying to open the community's eyes. And listen, the reason that Pennsylvania is 11 is this is a very populated state.
Yeah.
And we're close to very large metropolitan areas like New York City. A lot of the crime that we see here in Allentown is from New York City, not Philadelphia.
Interesting.
Allentown, if there's not traffic, is only about an hour and 20 minutes to get into the city, New York City. So that is, it's here. I mean, we are not out in the Midwest, and that's not there either. We're not in the middle of a cornfield. We are right next to the biggest city in the U.S., so it is 100% here.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yesterday I spoke at Penn State College here down the street, and the students were very shocked. And what I said to them, I said, as a survivor, I'm an American. You know, most people think that this has to do with immigration and
Right.
foreigners, and it's not.
Right.
And I shared with them, and I said to them, I said, the HSI team that we work with here, HSI, by the way, is Homeland Security Investigations. The HSI team that we work with here, it is more domestic
Right.
that we are seeing. So, you know, people need to understand that Americans are greatly impacted by what's happening. What we're seeing, we're dealing with Americans
Right.
every day
Right.
that are experiencing this. And I often say that if it's one, it's too many. But you have the man himself, the supervisor for our Homeland Security Investigations Unit here, saying that it's happening. It's happening here. What is it that you say that you need from the community? How do we as a community partner with HSI? What do you need from us to help in disrupting trafficking?
I think right now it's all hands on deck approach. I think what we've done with the child sex trafficking multidisciplinary team is just it's in action right there is what we need. It's all different sectors of the community coming together, having these monthly meetings. So it's everyone from the victim service organizations such as Bloom to Child and Youth Services to Lehigh Valley Health Network, St. Luke's, Lehigh County Crime and Victim Council, law enforcement, all at that table to discuss cases. What's the best approach to help this victim, and to also talk about outreach events. So what really for the community, and I guess this is a promotion right now for the MDT. If there's anyone out there who is involved in an organization that you think would be interested in sitting at this table, as Sheniqua and Carol know, we're always growing that meeting. I feel like every meeting we have, there's more people at the table, new faces. But that's what we want to see, because this is all hands on deck to combat sex trafficking here in the Lehigh Valley. It's not law enforcement alone. It's not sex trafficking victims organizations alone. It's all the organizations together combating this and figuring out what's the best approach for each case to get this person justice, as well as to get them back on their feet.
Okay. Well, another question I want to ask. Carol has been moving us as an organization very heavily towards legislative advocacy. That we see in our organization barriers, and I'm plugging the Barrier Wall Project. We do have the Barrier Wall Project, which is an amazing display of voices. I got a brick on there too, and it is a display, and we can probably put a picture of it behind this video in our commercial. But the Barrier Wall Project speaks of, it is the voices of survivors that have come out of trafficking situations, and now they're facing barriers, right? And so the bricks represent the wall that there is. And I think a lot of people, and it's amazing what you all do, you get the survivor out, you get them to safety, but then there are these barriers that stagnate from employment and things like that. So I want to know your thoughts, and even Carol can jump in on this. What needs to happen legislatively? Like, what are the things that are challenges that ensure justice and protection for survivors, but also for survivors to rebuild their lives?
Right.
What does that look like?
And I think it's what Carol's doing, and you're doing at Bloom, and I believe Shay Rhodes is doing as well. It's helping get some of these records expunged for these sex trafficking victims, so they can go out there and be productive members of society again. So we are in complete support of that type of law, because this is the long road. I mean, this is not just like rescue them and get them out of life and then just walk away.
Yeah.
I mean, this is staying with them hand in hand throughout their journey to get them to the right spot.
Yeah.
So it's a long game, and we definitely appreciate what Bloom is doing there to understand that that's not like, all right, this is good, success story. We got them bad guys now in jail, and off you go. It doesn't work that way, and
Right.
Bloom understands that. So definitely appreciate that as well.
What are your thoughts, Carol?
Well, I think what's important for people to recognize is that justice is a long process. It's a long game,
Yeah.
and that I think if we were to survey, and I don't have clear statistics on this, but if you were to survey adult victims who were probably at one point in time child victims, about justice in their experience, how many have experienced justice in the courtroom. And I always say that number is very, very low, because while we probably could do another podcast about the justice side of things, but you're really talking about the protective side, the investigative side, what we're discussing today. But a very, very low number of victims experience justice in the courtroom. We always say justice is in that long game of starting over. Justice is getting a secure job. Justice is independence. Justice is getting your kids back, or rebuilding your life, getting your own place. But I think the legislative part that we often don't even realize is happening is that there is no legislative funnel of funds to support this work here in Lehigh Valley.
Yes.
We have applied for federal grants, and we've been denied. And there's probably a variety of reasons why that happens, but I think it is important to note that part of this legislative advocacy is hopefully getting a stream of funding to support victim services work, whether that be housing, legal aid, mental health, all of those things. So I mean, we do know it's a long game. We've been doing this for a significant amount of time, and we're just getting started. And I think that's what's the exciting part of that.
Yeah.
But thank you for that.
And one of the things I love that you shared that. One of the things when I was in grad school that I kind of studied and researched and was very passionate about is re-exploitation through the justice system. Oftentimes that happens to many survivors, whether they have charges that they're trying to fight, or whether they have children by their traffickers or Johns that they have to fight with now in the court system. There is a lot of re-exploitation that happens. So please, we'll see you guys in January. I'm plugging everything today. We have a legislative day that is coming in January where we plan to go and to lift up survivor voices and to amplify this issue. But for the last few moments, I want to ask maybe 2, maybe 3 questions. Why do you do it?
Why do I do that? It's something. I had an interest in law enforcement when I was in college, and it was right after 9/11 happened, and the federal government law enforcement was pushing for people to apply, and I had some family members that were on the perimeter of the 9/11 tragedies, so it was something that I wanted to do and put in for it. I was young, my mid-20s, and luckily got hired by Homeland Security, and that's when it started. And right when I had moved out to the Midwest, my first post of duty, I called a child exploitation lead. This was back in 2004. And it was shocking to see. It was the first time that I unfortunately had to observe what was going on. But at that point, I had that passion too. Like, this is some of the most egregious crimes out there, and just really started to plug away and did a lot of child exploitation work and sex trafficking work at the beginning of my career as well. And then it just has grown from there. But that's sort of where. I don't come from a family of law enforcement. I'm the first one, but it's one of those things where I just had the interest in it early, and then when I saw what HSI could do, and especially the work on the sex trafficking, child exploitation, it grew from there.
Okay. What is the legacy you want to leave in this work? What is the legacy you want to leave for your bloodline, for your family, your children, when they look back and say, "This was my dad, and this is what he did"? What is the legacy?
That's a tough one. I guess that I did my best. I worked hard, and I hopefully that folks in the community remember the work that we did here. And to be honest, that it continues to grow. When I'm gone, is that this is just the beginning of it. Just continue to grow it. And I'm sure it will. I'm just one person, so when I do eventually retire, I guess the legacy would be to see that the continued battle against sex trafficking here continue to grow. And just as a plug for Bloom too, in my career across the country, I've never seen victim services as robust and plentiful as I do right here in Lehigh Valley.
Yeah.
So you should all be very proud too of the work that you've done here, because I did not see this in the Midwest or in DC. That this is something unique. Even Philadelphia, I don't think can match what goes on up here. It's very impressive the work that's up here.
Okay. Last two questions. What's what's not available that needs to be available to further your work to strengthen
Right.
HSI as a unit, and to strengthen outcomes for survivors, positive outcomes for survivors.
Right. I think for the last part of that question, the positive outcome for survivors is, and Carol mentioned a little bit too more, is for the victim service organizations to get as much funding as possible. We're always, as you guys know, as we encounter more and more of these victims, housing or very temporary housing, like the night of, when we encounter, as you know, with our operations, that they're going at all times of day and night, and we encounter somebody that needs housing right away, is funding for things like that.
Yeah.
We need to get them their own cell phone.
Yeah.
Because either they don't have one, or we're taking the other cell phone to develop evidence against
Yeah.
the trafficker. Things like that, or just funding to get them food right away. Things like that,
Yeah.
right on the spot. So I guess the biggest thing would be is, I don't know if this is the right term, but is right on the spot support for that victim when we encounter them. And not so much the long term support, which obviously you guys have nailed down great at Bloom, but it's right for that immediate support. Funding like that is probably the thing that I've noticed, where I think we're missing it at times, where we really need some of that. And that comes from HSIs too, with our victim services. I'm always asking for more funding for them too, to like help us with those type of encounters.
Okay. My last question is what is, if there's something you can say to survivors today. You have sat here, you have shared your heart, you have shared your work, you have shared your thoughts, and trust is a big thing for survivors with law enforcement, HSI. So I just wanted to, I guess the last thing is, there something that you can share with survivors who are out there? What would you say to them?
Right.
What would you say to them?
Right. Well, what I would say to them, first of all, is the amount of respect I have for them, yourself as well, for the courage you guys have, for what you went through to come out and be successful. I could easily say, from law enforcement, you guys are our heroes as well, as to what you guys went through. So it's one of those things, and I hope the work that we're doing up here with law enforcement is hopefully allowing survivors and those out there who are currently in life to have trust of us, that we're not there to villainize you, or to make you into the bad guy and to arrest you. We are completely victim-centric is what we're going forward here. We want to get you away from the traffickers, put the traffickers away, and thankfully with our collaboration with Bloom, I'd like to say that has been happening over the past several years, and it will continue to happen. So please know that law enforcement up here, working with HSI, is all on the same page from the local, state, and federal level. That we are not here to villainize you. Here, we are here to get the traffickers, and that is our goal.
Thank you so much. Carol, any last words?
My last words is just agreeing with you and
Yeah.
just thanking you for the foundation that you're building here. And we are just getting started. I think that's very exciting. And survivors are the heartbeat of this work. They should lead. We support them, and we believe them, and we want to be here and listen and say, how can we help? So thank you.
Exactly.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And tell the team we love them.
Yes.
We appreciate them. We miss them. I have love names for them too. Kate is Kick Down Kate. Okay. We have Tall Sean, Pat, Ashley, your entire team.
Yes,
We're just so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of All Things Bloom. We want to say again, if you or anyone you know is experiencing trafficking, please reach out to the National Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888, or you can reach our resource line at 484-268-8581. You'll get me on the other end. Until next time, bye.
Thank you.
Take care.